Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's topic is going to be Fourlane terms and services. My name is Trisha Thomas. Also joining me today is Lori Walsh. We are both partners here at Fourlane. So today we're going to talk about the different Fourlane terms and services. This is part 3 of my webinar series on accounting terminology. During my first one, we reviewed general accounting terms. My second webinar covered QuickBooks accounting terms and features. And today we're going to talk about the different services we offer and what they mean to get a client up and running in QuickBooks. So before I get started on today's topic, we're going to remind everybody that we do have a YouTube channel. So if you've missed any of these webinars, you can always find them on our channel at youtube.com/Fourlane. We've got lots of videos. We add videos every day. We're up to over 200 of them. So you guys, please come and join. If you subscribe to the channel, then you get the new notifications every time we upload a new video. So you can see what's out there. You can also connect with us through Facebook. So our Facebook group name is Fourlane QuickBooks Enterprise. We always get lots of great questions, so there's always lots of info out there for you guys. So please join that group and share in our knowledge, ask your questions, and we'll get you answered. So also, we always want to remind everyone about our on-demand support. So this is a $20 per QuickBooks user per month for up to 5 users. The price drops to $20 per month for 6 users or more. And how it works. So when you have something going on, you need some troubleshooting help, some license issues going on, anything like uploading, getting your new software set up, and you're running into an issue, all you have to do is send us an email. And that way we know what's going on, kind of put the details for our help desk. They'll reach out to you within the hour to set up a meeting to go over what the issue is and get you back up and running. So if you want any more information about this demand support we offer, please reach out to us. And of course, if you guys have questions about any of our topics we're going over, please just type them in our little chat, and Lori's kind of managing that today. So we're going to go over those questions as we go, and then at the end, kind of follow up with any other ones based on time. We will get questions answered after the webinar is over if we aren't able to cover them. Okay, so we offer a lot of different services and support here at Fourlane. Today we're going to go over some of those project types and explain what they mean and what they could include. Now, of course, every one of our clients are unique and we customize their projects around their specific needs. For today, we're going to talk in general about different project types to give you an idea of what we can help you with. I will have a sample file open just so that we can show you some of those terms and project types and where this would come into play in your accounting file. So let me kind of get that set up and we'll go from there. So starting off, when we create a project for our clients, we break the project plan into phases. So we'll go into more details about the phases as we go along, but let's just kind of start at the top on, what a phase is. So we break down our project tasks into specific phases. That way they're more into bite-sized pieces, so it's not so overwhelming. We do complete what we call a phase close meeting at the end of each one of those phases. So this ensures that the client's satisfied with the work done at each phase before we move on to the next phase. So these phases could include design and testing, so deciding how QuickBooks should be configured, creating workflows for various activities, testing some of those scenarios specific to the client's need. So as you can see, this is QuickBooks Enterprise, and this is the home screen. I always tell clients new to QuickBooks that think of this as your guide on what do I do next. So during design and testing, what we would be doing is understanding what your workflows are, what those needs are, and then customizing your QuickBooks file around there. So for example, if you're not going to be managing inventory in this accounting file, you wouldn't see purchase orders and inventory. So this allows us to really customize, introduce features that you need just for your workflow. Another phase that we do is a summary conversion. What is summary conversion? Is creating a new file using your list data. So we've gone over that, our different types of list data. So what you want to see in your file, what is needed to create a transaction. And then summary trial balance and open transactions. So we want you to be able to create your balance sheet. We want you to be able to create your profit and loss. And then, of course, we want what is opened, what still needs to be paid, what we still need to collect payment from. We want those to be in your new file. We also offer training. So this allows for management and staff to know all aspects inside of QuickBooks from their processes. So in our vendor module, how do we set up a vendor? How do we create a bill? How do we pay that bill? In our customer section, what does that workflow look like? If we're creating estimates and progress invoicing, how do we do that? How do we, from start to finish, all the way to our reporting, how do we do these different transactions in these different modules? Okay, we also offer technical file services. So we have an in-house technical consultants who can perform various services to repair your QuickBooks database or prolong the use of the file. So these services include file condensing and consolidation and file repair. So we'll get into more of what those mean later on in the webinar. But basically think about if you run a file verify. So we recommend you doing this as part of your month-end close, is running that verify, making sure our data looks good. And you run into some errors that can't be corrected. So when QuickBooks says, let me repair your data, and it can't be repaired. Another instance is if when you hit your F2 screen and your file size, we want to keep an eye on that file size and do what we need to get the file size done. And then of course, another example that we hear clients talk about is my balance sheet is giving me an out of balance error. So these are the type of services that we can help in our technical file service groups, getting that file back up and running and back to a healthy state. We also offer cleanup services, so reviewing and correction of the list data. During this, we can install and upgrade software. We can create an accounting manual. We can reconcile your accounts. We can tie out, so making sure that all of our balance sheet accounts are accurate, they're reconciled, they tie to statement accounts. This also allows us to identify and propose corrections of account balances. So sometimes I see, for example, if there's a vehicle loan and a client has been posting the payments for the loan and not separating the interest and the loan payment. So this is a way for us to identify, hey, those statement balance don't tie out, and come up with the solution and get it corrected in our client's file. Okay. Another phase that could be included in a project is what we call month-end close. So during this phase, we'd be reviewing that accounts reconciliation. We'd be reviewing the profit and loss, making sure our trends are as we would expect, reviewing our balance sheet, making sure that everything has been done to close everything out, and then creating a financial package based on what the client needs to see. Sometimes we have clients that they have their internal management that want to see one financial package, and then they have outside institutions that need to see a different financial package. So this is us doing that for them. Okay, that falls along with what we call proactive maintenance. So we have a phase where Fourlane offers ongoing support in the form of monthly bookkeeping. It would include weekly bookkeeping, payroll setup and processing, financial and compliance reporting. We could do CFO level services. We can do unlimited email support or monthly meetings to kind of review. We've gone through that training. Sometimes we just have a one-off question. I can't remember how to reconcile my books. I know you showed me. Can you show me again? So we offer this as ongoing support to make sure that our clients know that we're still here with them. We haven't just built their file, trained them, and sent them on their way. We want to continue to support them in whatever manner that they need. Okay? So, kind of jumping into one of the main things that clients reach out to us for is what we call conversions. So that's us building that new file. So there's two types of conversion, a summary conversion and a detailed conversion. So the summary conversion is the process of converting an accounting file from one software to another, or to limit a file to only the most recent data by creating a new file using summary trial balances and open transactions only. Okay, a detailed conversion means that we would be importing general ledger history as a journal entry provided by the client, or importing invoices and bills in detail that have been closed out. Okay, Lori, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, when clients reach out to us and they say, hey, Lori, I need help. We want to build a new file. Which one of these two pathways, when it comes to the summary conversion and a detail conversion, would you recommend, and why would you steer clients away from the other one?
Okay, well, we generally will start and recommend a summary conversion. There's a few reasons. One, the time it takes to complete a summary conversion is a lot less, right? It's a shorter turnaround time. So that makes it a lower price point as well, right? The file size is definitely smaller there too. On a detailed conversion though, it's not a one-for-one match. Like most clients think that it's going to exactly mirror what's in the other one, and it's not. And we have to take that as a layered approach. So we have to bring in layer one and then layer two and then match those up. So for instance, a bill, and then bring in that bill payment and then make sure that those are connected. And it just takes a lot longer. And your file size is already larger just because of the number of transactions we had to bring in for the detail.
Okay, absolutely. Absolutely. So we always tell our clients, if you have access to your historical data, let's leave it where it is. We want you guys to start off new and fresh, and we don't want to bring in any data that's not needed in that new file. Okay, so when we go through this summary conversion process, there is usually two phases. Phase one, that's where we're creating all of this list data. So we call that the base of the file. So this is where our clients tell us, what do they need? We know they need a chart of accounts. We know they need an item list, but what else? Are they doing inventory? Do we need to break down units of measures? Are they going to have special pricing? Do they want their sales rep? So that's during phase one. We call that the creation of the list data. Phase two covers creating all of the open transactions, so our open accounts payable, our open accounts receivable. If the client is doing non-posting transactions, purchase orders, sales orders, estimates, we would bring in what's open. And then, of course, their financial balances for the time frame that they need. So their balance sheet and their profit and loss. And what I tell clients is, think about, you want to run comparables. So I want to see how we did this month to last month, or this year to last year. So we want to bring those into your file so that you can do that in your new accounting file. Okay, so when we hit this, what we call phase two of the conversion, there's a term that's called the cutoff date. This date, which is when your old file ends and your new file begins, when it relates to your financial balances. So new transactions entered into either file prior to this date are not recommended without guidance. So we don't want you to backdate transactions in your new file. Transactions posted into your old file after this date will need to be duplicated in your new file. Okay, and then I know I talked about open transactions, but since we're talking about terms and understanding what they mean, open transactions for summary conversions refer to your customer invoices and vendor bills with open balances as of the trial balance cutoff date, as well as checks and deposits uncleared as of that date. So it's very important that you understand it's the open balance. So if I had a customer invoice that was $1,000, my customer paid $500, then the only thing that's going to be in your new accounting file is the open balance of $500 that the customer still owes, so you can post that payment when it's due. Okay. So sometimes when a client is moving from an outside accounting system into QuickBooks, or they no longer want to maintain an internal server, then we would recommend a hosting provider to manage their accounting file. And hosting means it's a company that provides server space for your QuickBooks data to reside, usually so that multiple users can access the database at the same time. We never want a client to just have their accounting file on their desktop, because then that prevents anyone else from using it. There's also third-party integrations that we can help get set up. So we offer a service to help get that third party connected to your QuickBooks file. That way you know the mapping in the QuickBooks file matches what it needs to be in that third party application. And when the two sync, what comes over is what you're expecting. It's going to hit your financials in the manner that you need it to. Okay, so if our client is currently in QuickBooks and need help with their file, we would recommend two pathways based on what's going on with their accounting file. They would be either technical services or file cleanup services. So meaning that a client wants to stay in their QuickBooks file. They don't want to start a new file, but they want to stay in this file and they want Fourlane to help with whatever's going on. So in the technical service piece, there's a couple of things that we can do. Kind of the main things we do is what we call a file condense. And what a file condense does is reduces the size of the QuickBooks company file by removing old list data, unused items, customers, vendors, any old transactions prior to a specified cutoff date. Okay, so this is, client says, hey, I want to keep as much data as I can. I want to keep using this file. And so we perform a condense and remove prior to that cutoff date all that old data. Another thing that we do is file consolidation. So what this means is merging of two or more QuickBooks financial company files into one. Generally, we've seen the need when a customer has set up accounts payable in a separate file from accounts receivable, or inventory in a separate file, and now they want to operate into one file. Okay, there's also, of course, the file repair. So what this service does is it fixes the damages or corruption inside that QuickBooks database. Okay, so in a situation where a client is currently in QuickBooks and they want us to help them with, and this can be part of that summary conversion, because we want to, what we call, put eyes on the file. We call that a file review. So we want to see what's currently going on in your file, how big that file is, what the processes are being done. That way we can provide the recommendation on what the best pathway is to get you to your end goal. So what a file review is, the purpose of it is to document the things we want to clean up, want to discuss with changes that might be needed. We want to improve your file and your processes. So the goal is to get the client's good, reliable, and consistent data so that you can make business decisions. It's when we hear clients say, I don't trust my financials, that's sad for us to hear. And that's one of the things that we want to do, is we want to get them up and running on a QuickBooks file that they can. If you can't trust your financials, it's very hard to make any type of business decision on where do we go next with the business. Okay, perfect. So we have clients that sometimes just don't know what they're doing wrong in their accounting file when it comes to their workflows, when it comes to their daily processes. They just know it's not working. So they want guidance and understanding of what the processes are. And so for this, what we would recommend is what we call an extended process review. And what this is, it's used to document the client's current processes. This allows us to recognize and improve in different things such as manual processes that should have been automated, simplify processes with fewer steps, identify processes that are no longer useful to the function or reporting needs of the business. It allows us to identify places where we're doing multiple things or putting the same data in multiple places. We can find where we can use QuickBooks more effectively on their day-to-day task. And we can make sure they have processes in place in a new design to cover all the important workflows that they have. Okay, so Lori, I know you've told me before an extended process review is one of your favorite type of projects. So kind of talk to us about what all goes into a process review.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they are definitely one of my favorites. So we get to sit with the client and figure out, like, we get to listen. They get to train us basically on what they're currently doing, right? We're not trying to fix at this point. We're just trying to gather the data. And it allows us to find ways maybe that two people are doing the same job. Maybe they're doing a lot of manual stuff in Excel outside the system, right? It allows us to identify areas that they are doing right now. And as you mentioned before, we can find those efficiencies or help them with those efficiencies, right? To get the data in one place, which is QuickBooks usually. Sometimes there may be some third-party applications we need to add to help them along as well, but it gives us that insight and we can note those gaps. And then we present them to the client, so then the client can tell us, okay, this is what I want you to help us with.
I think it's definitely eye-opening to some clients when they realize all the things that, efficiencies that could be done. And also the excitement, that, when it comes to those manual processes that people are doing, and we can show them that we can automate them and they don't need, so many steps. It's definitely exciting.
Yeah, and the other thing I think too that makes it as exciting as that as well is that everybody gets to participate. So they get to own their part of the current process, but then it also gives them a better picture because then they get to hear other people, because sometimes it's really easy to get siloed into your own spot, right? And then that way it kind of brings an awareness there, but that excitement, as we talked about, is also usually there as well.
That's so true. That's so true. I didn't think about that. Okay, well, exciting stuff. So kind of we talked about the technical, services we offer. So let's kind of talk about the file cleanup services. So file cleanup services kind of cover everything. I mean, when you think about the different things that, this is a client saying, hey, I need help. My financials don't work. I don't trust these numbers. We can clean up that file. So some of the things that get included is what we call a sales tax tie out. And this is a process where Fourlane ties out the balance sheet and the profit and loss to the most recent tax return. So making sure that what our CPA filed on the behalf of the company matches what's in the accounting file. We can do reconciliations. A lot of times we see, because of processes being done, for example, our inventory balance doesn't tie to our detailed report. So the process of reconciling our inventory quantities and values inside the accounting file to a physical inventory count, removing negative inventory, that's where when we talk about that extended process review, we talk about our design. Not only do we want to clean it up, but we also want to work with our clients to create workflows that they don't get back to this same area. So it's very important to us that we don't just do part, clean up or redesign, but they go hand in hand together. Okay, another part is we talked about this that Fourlane offers. We do this as part of cleanup as well as ongoing services, and that's reconciling our asset and liability accounts, making sure that we tie to statements as well as other balance sheet accounts such as prepaids. We can reconcile those customer deposits. That way that allows the client to know what is still outstanding. And then of course, a really fun thing that people love is what we call an accounting procedure manual. So this is a document that outlines procedures and creates guidelines for the staff on the accounting features. So think about that when we go and we create new workflows and they've gone through that extended process review, sometimes change is hard. Sometimes to go and say, well, this is the way I've always done it and it worked, it's hard to get people to change. Or you have someone new coming on board and they've used QuickBooks in the past and they want to do it their way instead of how your workflow needs to go. So this accounting procedure manual allows you to provide that documentation on our procedures and creates the guidelines for your accounting staff to follow on how you want things done in your file. Okay, and then of course, once we've completed one or the above, all of them, we sometimes have all of those in one project, we want to continue to support our clients, and we do this by offering different types of ongoing support based on what our client came to us with. So some of the things that we offer ongoing support for is month-end close services. So, they don't have someone on their staff that really can manage closing out the books, or they're wearing too many hats and, just want that support. So month-end services can include doing those reconciliations, processing their payroll, doing the weekly task, as well as at that month end closing out the book. So making sure every balance sheet is reconciled and providing those financial reviews. Okay, kind of the main things that we always recommend, even if we don't go with, for example, bookkeeping services, is an annual file review, which I explained to you guys what that is. The difference is that annual file review is us looking at it again after we've gotten you up and running to make sure everything that we did with you during that project is still being followed and being able to course correct where we need to. And then a database review. So the database review helps us to be proactive with our clients instead of reactive when it comes to the database maintenance. So all databases, even outside of QuickBooks space, need maintenance. So we review our clients' data files periodically. We keep track of the progress and help to plan for when they should move up in software, do some file cleanup, do the condense process, or even start the new file. So we want to be proactive with our clients and do this database review so that way that their database is stable instead of reactive when there's issues and the file goes down. Okay, so I know we're running out of time. Lori, I've got one last question for you.
Okay.
So can you give me an example of a client that said, hey, I do want that proactive maintenance. Will you guys do that annual file review? And what did we find?
Yeah, there's been, well, usually all of them will find something, but many times, I'll just kind of summarize it. Many times it's that they revert back to their old habits, right, in the old file. And so the annual file review allows us to go, wait a second, I see these I see these same things happening again. Let's stop. And like you mentioned, it allows us to do some course correction a year in, as opposed to waiting 10 years or 5 years, whatever, right? And then having a big mess that we have to clean up and then course correct.
100%. Okay. So you guys, this concludes our webinar topic for today. I see we do have one question, and it's asking about what is the QuickBooks maximum file size limit. So I'm going to tell you, QuickBooks can take on a lot. And we've seen clients that are still able to function into files that are 2 and 3 and 5 gigs. What we recommend is when we get over 1, that we start looking at what we need to do to change. Do we need to start a new file? Do we need to condense the file? What are we doing that's causing this file size to grow so big? And maybe it's okay. But that's, so when it comes to maximizing file size, what we start seeing is after they start getting 2 and 3 gigs is you start having issues. The file crashing, you can't do all the processes that you could before. And so that's when we talk about that we want to be proactive and make the changes needed so that you can continue to grow in that QuickBooks file. Okay, you guys, so we are right at time. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, of course, Lori, for all of your help and all of your input about our clients. I hope everyone has a great week and will join us next Wednesday.